All right, so I'm going to share with you a question that a parent asked me the other day, which I thought was just so awesome. And it's a question that I have sat within my heart for years and years and years, both for my own children, but also as someone who educates other parents. I think this is an incredibly important question for me to think about. So we were starting a new cohort, and the most delightful group has assembled, and we are just beginning our journey together. And one of the questions that this dad asked so beautifully was, you know, I am frustrated because I try to give my kid a limit, and then it's like they have this huge reaction to it. And then I wind up, accommodating. But at the end of the day, like, am I just enabling my kid? Like, am I just coddling them? Don't they need to learn that the world isn't just going to be this soft place that listens to them? And like, okay, so you had this huge tantrum because I'm setting this limit here, and I wind up caving in because you just can't seem to handle it. Like, is that love? Right? Like that's such a huge question, isn't it? That we all ask ourselves, like, what's the right love in this moment? Is the love that I'm going to hold the limit? Is the love that I'm going to listen to you that you can't handle it? And who am I creating over time? Right? What's the seed that I'm planting now? Is that the tree that I think will benefit you and benefit the rest of the forest? Like, help. These are big questions. Yes. So even if in the moment we're just sitting there fighting over yet another show, the reality is that how we handle that and what's going on in our heart and our mind and them, what the seeds that we're planting, they're so big. You can see the roots. Yes. And you can see why parenting matters so much. And yet, not to say that we got to handle that moment perfectly, because we get so many chances at parenting. That's what's so great, right? It's just going to keep coming. So here's the deal. I've thought about this question a lot, and I want to give you our particular mother flipping awesome answer, which is we have something that we refer to as the MFA Hug. And it is exactly all about this idea of what is coddling, what is enabling, what is accommodating, and what is just holding the line, right? Like, when do you need to do each of those? Because that's the art of parenthood, really. I mean, it's one of the arts. There's so many. But here's the deal. Some kids are easy, right? Like, it's like you say something, they listen, they're cool, they're like, thanks for that information, awesome. I can now position myself how I want, or I can deal with this and we're good. Maybe they've got a lot of emotional intelligence or grit or resilience, or they're just easier, they're people pleasers, whatever it is, it's like, cool. And for some of you who have multiple kids, you're like, yeah, I got one of those kids. And then if you got the other kind of kid, you're like, yeah, not that. And so here's the deal. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. It's not like one is better and one is worse. They're just different, and they're different children to raise, and you have to raise them differently. So for those of you who really wonder about this issue, you likely have a more strong-willed, highly sensitive kid, or you wouldn't be wondering about this. You'd just be like, what's wrong with all the rest of you, right? These are those parents who look at other parents and they're like, well, you just say no, or you say it with love, and they understand, right, if you got a kid like that. So for those of you who lie awake at night wondering about this, I'm going to clarify this for you. So you do need to do limits. You need to have strong boundaries. Absolutely. These are the kids who will test everything. I call them fence sniffers, because if there's a fence anywhere, you could put them in a giant open paddock. They will go right to the fence and try to break it. It doesn't matter how many miles open that paddock is. They want complete freedom. They want autonomy. They want to understand. And if there's a line, is it a line I can break, or is it a line I absolutely need to organize myself around? So here's the thing. You absolutely want strong boundaries with kids like this. But you cannot just give a kid like this a boundary. You have to give them a boundary, and also like open areas, a lot of open areas. There have to be a lot of what I call doors. So if you think of the boundary as a gate or a wall, there have to be a lot of open doors. And there has to be a lot of warmth and connection and play to make up for the boundary. As a general principle, the MFA hug is Strong-willed, highly sensitive kids need more warmth, more connection, more flexibility on your part, and more boundaries, more strength, more clear defined lines, more clear defined results of behavior. And I don't mean by that punishment. I mean by that very simple real life consequences from choices that are made. And they need support and scaffolding. So it's a particular kind of child that actually requires all of that. We will be talking about all of this for a long time to come because this is not a quick, simple conversation. But just to know, the basic is stop driving yourself crazy. Do I need to be more strict or do I need to be more flexible? Yes, and yes. That is the answer with strong-willed, highly sensitive kids. Yes, and yes. And then you need to build them the bridge in between, which is the scaffolding. I'm totally flexible. I love you. We got this. And then I'm going to build you the bridge to be able to hold the limit. So I give you the limit, and then I also build you your own emotional capacity for how to accept the limit. And that is the work you're doing with strong-willed, highly sensitive kids that you don't have to do with other kids. So no, you're not crazy. And if you lie in bed wondering and like staying up all night wondering like, what am I doing? That's cool. And that is not coddling because you do have the limit. And that is not enabling because you are creating someone who is ever more capable. Every round you go through, they get better and better because you've built the structure. It is accommodating, but not in a negative way. It's accommodating who this person is and making sure that you're giving them the exact right medicine for them. All right, I hope that makes some sense. If you're interested and intrigued, I get you. I've been interested and intrigued by it forever. It's fascinating. I can dive into this forever. So thanks for being with me. And I look forward to many more conversations about all this. Bye.